We've been talking about some good news at the pumps, but let's look at this. The EFF has written to Treasury requesting a withdrawal of the increase in the fuel levy. After a political battle, the Finance Minister dropped a plan to raise VAT in his latest budget speech. Instead, last week, he announced that the levy imposed on purchases of petrol and diesel would go up. To discuss, we're joined by the EFF Treasurer-General OmphileMaotwe. Ms. Maotwe, thank you for being with us. Why are you so opposed to this levy increase?
Thank you very much, Francis. Good evening to the viewers at home. We are opposed to the fuel levy increase, Francis, because it is going to put South Africans, the poor people in the main, in worse off conditions. But that's one. Number two, so there are two issues here. We reject the fuel levy increase, but also we reject the manner in which the minister is attempting to table it. So maybe let's deal with the legality before you come to the economic injustice of introducing this fuel levy. So when you look at the law, the Constitution is very clear. Section 77 of the Constitution, subsection 1, it's very clear on what needs to happen to the national tax that gets levied to everybody. A tax that is of a general application to everyone. It's contained in the Constitution, subsection 77, section 77, subsection 1. And in subsection 2, it clearly states that that tax needs to follow a parliamentary process. So the minister is an executive. For him to attempt to bring a tax which is supposed to follow the legislative process is an overreach on the part of the minister. And that's what he even tried with the VAT increase. Yeah. The minister's got no
But haven't levies been increased or decreased before many times in this country by finance ministers?
They have. But that doesn't make it right. The same way with the VAT increase that has been increased before. We went to court and the court said no. So we are challenging it and are going to challenge it to its success, Francis.
Okay.
So what the minister is relying on, he's relying on the case of the Constitutional Court. There are two cases in the Constitutional Court where the Constitutional Court made a ruling. One was the Mark Shuttleworth case where he wanted to move money from South Africa. And the court said the minister has got the right to do a regulatory amendment to allow for 10% of any money that gets moved. That's one. The second case is the New Africa case, where the court said the minister's got the right to regulate on the alcohol that is sold at the airports. So that falls under customs and taxes duties. But this one, customs duties, sorry. This one is not a duty, a regulation.
All right.
This one is a tax that needs to be brought before a parliamentary process, a legislative process, which the minister has not done.
So will you be going to court?
Come again?
Will you be taking this to court?
We will be taking it to court. We've written to the Minister of Finance. We've written to the chairperson of the Standing Committee on Finance. We've written to the Speaker to alert everybody to say what is currently happening. It's wrong. The minister does not have powers. And we are just waiting for the minister because the minister wants to introduce it through a regulation. You can't introduce a national tax that is going to apply to everybody, irrespective of whether you are rich or you are poor, you are wealthy or not, through a regulation. It must follow a parliamentary process. So we're waiting for him to gazette, because we're saying the minister can't just wake up in the morning and gazette. Once the gazette is out, then we know that the minister indeed wants to implement the fuel increase on the 4th of June, and that's when we're going to go to court.
If we look at the economic implications, wasn't this a great plan, given that the price of oil that we import for petrol has gone down? So it's something that motorists won't feel, and that's one of the only good pieces of economic news related to the global uncertainty.
No, it can't be. It's not a good plan because, one, the minister is very lazy. What he did is he saw that we rejected the VAT increase, which was not only the EFF, by the way. There was a public outcry across the country. Even the stakeholders who came to present before our committee, 98% of them said we don't want VAT increase. Then he replaced the VAT increase with the levy. Well, he's attempting to replace the VAT increase with the fuel increase. Now, we're sitting in an economy, Francis, that is not growing, that is stagnant. It has not grown by more than 2% for the past 10 years. The minister projected a growth of 1.8 just last month. He has reversed it down to 1.4 now. We're sitting in a country where there are high levels of unemployment, there are high levels of poverty. The government is unable to shield the poor from this high cost of living. The cost of living is going to go high even more because this is a consumption-based tax. You and I, whether we like it or not, is going to affect us. Why? Because that bakery bread that carries bread from the town to the village now has to pay more for fuel. That truck that transports the vegetables from the farm to go into town or into the villages now needs to pay more fuel. They will not absorb that cost. Not the cost. That is the cost that they're going to pass over to the consumers.
However, Ms. Maotwe, we are reporting this very evening that petrol, despite the increases, is going to go down in June.
But I'm saying to you, remember, petrol price is made up of 3 items: is the fuel levy, is the retailer value levy, and then the wholesale value. If any one of them goes up at any time, and by the way, the wholesale and the retailer does not depend on the minister. The industry can just wake up and increase that tax, that fuel levy, that levy. Now, that is directly going to go into the pockets of me and you, the poor people. The taxi industry has already said, if this goes ahead, they will have no choice but to increase their taxi fares. That will also happen to the buses. That will also happen to any means of transport that is transporting any goods from any point to point A to point B. That, I can tell you now, those companies will not absorb that cost. That cost is going to go into the pockets of poor people. The third thing, Francis, is that we are in a situation where National Treasury is refusing to deal with the bracket creep. So the bracket creep means that if your employer adjusts your salary to be in line with inflation of 4.5% as an example, and that actually pushes you on the upper bracket, you're going to be taxed more. So there is that silent tax on the workers that nobody's talking about it. Now you got a fuel levy, which is a general application tax on everybody irrespective of your economic standing. And then those two issues will definitely make the cost of living to go high. Inflation will go high. People will, as it is right now, 18.2 million people are dependent on the grants.
All right.
Those people will now have to pay more for bread, for paraffin, for mealie meal, for chicken, for everything. And they will not be able to afford.
Not in June, though, if the petrol price goes down, but maybe in future. And let me end with this. Did the EFF have a better idea? Because the fuel levy increase and the lack of bracket creep is to increase spending in important areas, like we saw an outcry over nurses, doctors not being employed, and teachers, and things like that. So something has to give. Either we don't spend on those important things, or we have to live with the levy increase. Or what's the alternative that you can put forward?
Yes, we have a full presentation, which I think we made it available on the net, on the wires, Francis. But just to briefly talk about them. One, we are saying we need to introduce a wealth tax, and the minister is shying away from introducing the wealth tax. Let's tax the rich to pay for the poor. We've got people in this country who can afford to buy a buffalo for 22 million rand. That is pure money laundering. Those people have got enough money, they don't know what to do with it. They must then finance the poor. We want the minister to introduce, Francis, the apartheid tax. We want the minister to introduce the luxury land holdings, which is another tax measure that can be used, because these luxury holdings, they are an asset. These people can even go to the bank and ask for money. We're asking the minister to say, the corporate tax was 29% at some point. It was reduced down to 27%. Why are you not increasing it, even if it's not 29%, but to 28% for now? And then you increase again by 1% next year. All we're asking for is a progressive tax, not a regressive tax. The fuel levy, the VAT levy, the VAT increase, all those taxes are regressive tax, but there are progressive tax, wealth tax, apartheid tax, luxury land holdings tax, corporate tax. I mean, we were in the committee this morning, and even the Parliamentary Budget Office asked what happened to the corporate tax that was going to give this government 8 billion rand if it was to be increased. As they said, in the last medium-term budget policy statement. It has not been implemented. We are going to be writing to the National Treasury.
So don't we need to give companies a break when they are the ones creating jobs and some are really struggling in this economy? Do you believe that they could absorb an increased tax?
Yes, they can. They can. Francis, the companies are, at the end of the financial year, recording billions and billions of profits when we are struggling as poor people. The rich is getting more richer. And we see that. Just go to JSE and see those companies that are making money there. So there is money. What they are doing is tax avoidance, which SARS needs to come into place here. Tax avoidance and tax-based erosion. Those are the two items that SARS need to. And by the way, SARS did say that there is 800 billion for grabs, only if they can get the 4 billion that they asked for, which the minister is not giving them. The minister is giving the 4 billion over a period of 3 years. SARS wants that money now so they can chase these people who are owing or who have the ability to pay, and then we'll have an 800 billion gap. Francis, even if we were to get just 10% of that, the crisis and the problems of the minister would have been resolved. So there is enough money in the country. Money has been shifted. Money has been hidden. And we need a SARS that is got teeth that can go and bite and get that money to our people.
All right, Treasurer-General of the EFF, OmphileMaotwe, thank you very much for being with us.